And Katherine was very devoted to the service of humanity. She was a very accomplished author and educator and just a wonderful steward for humanity to find ways of learning, one of which was from her book, Calling in the One, and we're going to hear about some of her other works today. Hello, and welcome back to the Art of Awakening podcast, where the art of living awake truly becomes a daily practice. I'm your host, Dr. Sue Morter, and today we're having a tender and meaningful conversation. A friend of mine for many years, Katherine Woodward Thomas, was originally scheduled to join me here on the Art of Awakening podcast, and just prior to our scheduling of that recording, she became ill with a respiratory situation, a pneumonia type of diagnosis, and she'd been battling health concerns for quite some time leading up to this. And so we were rescheduling, and during the time that she was out at that time, she passed, and she made her transition in a beautiful way. And at the same time, it's never exactly what any of us want to hear about when it is, interrupting a flow in life. And Katherine was very devoted to the service of humanity. She was a very accomplished author and educator and just a wonderful steward for humanity to find ways of learning, one of which was from her book, Calling in the One. Another that you might be familiar with was Conscious Uncoupling, and we're going to hear about some of her other works today. Today we have a wonderful, close student become colleague and, of course, friend of Katherine's, and her name is Jessica. And Jessica Yip is going to share not only an honoring of Katherine and her teachings, which is what I reached out to her organization when I heard of her passing to ask. I wanted to inquire, is there anything that we can do to honor and support, the beautiful teachings of Katherine? And Jessica stepped forward and said that she would be happy to join us here and share not only the direct teachings of Katherine, but also her application of that, giving it an ongoing life and legacy through her coaching efforts. And so we'll be hearing about that. So I'd like to bring you on, Jessica. She's a leading coach in Katherine's Calling in the One work. She's certified a True You coach, which was Katherine's following book, and serves as program director and faculty coach for the Calling in the One, Conscious Uncoupling, and True You trainings. So she's kind of taking the reins here. And so today we celebrate Katherine's life and explore the teachings that she devoted her life to, and sharing and speak about what it means to carry on those teachings, to carry them forward. Jessica, welcome.
Oh, Dr. Sue, thank you. It is a real honor to be here. I know, when Katherine was promoting What's True About You, that's her third book. So Calling in the One, Conscious Uncoupling, What's True About You came out in January. She was more in love with the work than ever. And even as she was, increasingly ill, she was so committed to showing up for that transformation in people. And I think, and I'm biased, but I really have felt it in my own life. And I know our whole team of coaches would, coaches, readers, and class participants would agree that Katherine had a masterful way of giving us a process where, we have this magical glut of transformative information in the world. Like, there's so much beautiful information to change your life with. And a lot of people are often overwhelmed with how to even integrate it and how to do it. And so Katherine's 7-step process really streamlines that and gives us the ability to go from what's not working to this dream I have over here, and how do we bridge that gap. So Katherine knew the work was bigger than her, and she really gave everything she had in this physical plane to steward it. And we're really honored to be carrying that forward.
Beautiful. Yes, I concur. I live what it is that I share and I teach. And when Catherine and I met at one of my workshops, or prior to that, we had met through social friends. But as she was in one of my workshops, it just became, we had an immediate bond that she got it. She got where I was coming from. I got where she was coming from, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful connection. So thank you for your deep passion and desire to keep this enlivened and awake in our humanity. It is definitely, what we're here to do. Catherine saw the possibility and wholeness within people. And what did Catherine do, before we dive in to other things, to help you recognize a deeper you, a more authentic you, a truer, more empowered, clear version of yourself as you began to plug into her teachings?
Oh, thank you for asking this question. I'm excited to tell this story because it's like dramatic in the best way. Because truly, nine-ish years ago, we'll call it, calling in the one, and I really believe this. Catherine's work finds people in magical ways. So anyone listening to this, I'm just like, just consider yourself like, tickled with the magic stick here. Um, I was not actively looking for a relationship. There were plenty of issues happening in my relational world, but I was really in that place of, I feel like there's a phantom life I'm supposed to be living, and everything on paper in my life looks great, but something isn't working. I feel a little bit like I'm dying every day. The dream job that I had was suddenly no longer my dream job. And I felt really stuck. Like, how do I get over here? And that's when calling in the one fell into my lap. My roommate at the time in San Francisco was like, do you want to do this book with me that my therapist recommended? And I was like, sure. I had no idea what I was getting into. And lo and behold, here I am. So a bit of like a magical kiss from the universe was that moment. And what I woke up to, because truly it was like, I had no idea that this is what was happening. What I woke up to, and what Catherine invites us into through all three of her books, is this transformation of identity. And the first part of it is seeing how you have been creating exactly what your life is right now. And for me at the time, that was very hot and cold relationships. That was feeling like I was successful to an extent, but not actually doing what I was really good at. Like there was like a hidden me that never had a place in the world. I had a really superficial relationship with my parents who like would do anything for me, but I was kind of like, do they even know me? And, so on and so forth. So there was such a gap in what I felt like I should be feeling because my life looked so great, but I didn't actually feel that great. And what I woke up to is that I have been creating my life from this idea that I'm on my own. Now, I would say like traditional, like insight and healing work, which is incredible and necessary, I might have stopped there. I might have found that like my younger brother passed when I was 5 and we didn't talk about it as a family. And so I picked up this idea that I'm on my own. Like the worst thing in the world could happen and nobody would be there for me. And then what did I do? I lived like another 28 or some years perpetuating that. I became incredibly self-reliant. I literally didn't know how to ask questions in school because I thought I'd have to figure out everything by myself. I actually had a big gap I found in like critical thinking because I didn't even know how to question what was handed to me. There were a lot of ways I wasn't vulnerable. I would always figure things out by myself and then share with people. I couldn't share in the process with someone. So this idea that I'm on my own, others don't really care about me. And then life is kind of this tragedy. I get to like look pretty and seem smart and have all these things, but actually underneath feel very empty and alone. Like, ouch. That's where I was creating from. And what Catherine woke me up to is like, is that actually you? Like, is that actually true? Are you actually alone in the world? And I had to really look at that and say, hold on, I'm here to be connected. I am a connector. And now, that experience is really connection to nature, to life, to source really, or universe. But I had to wake up to that in Catherine's work. And then, and this is where I think Catherine is most magical because she nails the relational component. I had to grow to have the future that I wanted, which was a happy partnership, which was a clean, honest, true relationship with my parents, which was a fulfilling community, which was work that really met all of my talents. Like all of that, I had to grow into afterward. And I think that space, Katherine names it so perfectly, because we cannot transform like by ourselves in our room, no matter how much insight we have about it. We actually have to show up and do the thing differently with people. I had to actually ask, like literally learn how to ask questions, like learn how to apologize, learn how to navigate conflict in a way that didn't blow things up, but actually deepened relationships. So there was such a tremendous, when ponds flip with like temperature and like the whole thing flips. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
Yeah,
that's what
spring turnover. Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
that's what it is. It felt like a full turnover. Like you had to just
Mm,
like flip everything in life and really outgrow the past.
mm,
So instead of just understanding the past, Katherine is saying there's a future that you're after. So we're future forward, we're future oriented. How would I need to grow in order to be the person who could create and sustain that future? So maybe I'll pause there, but
sure.
Katherine changed my
Yeah.
life truly. It's like
Yeah.
why it's so easy to talk about this with such fervor. And I know this
Yeah.
story is mirrored in all the coaches as well.
Sure. So when she began to introduce principles to you that were churning the spring turnover for you and allowing you to see that your operating system was not really ever going to get you what you actually wanted.
Mhm.
Um, is there something that stands out in your mind um, as a pinnacle moment that like something broke the cycle, something pierced the veil, something aha, a revelatory moment unveiled, taking you from this performing personality into a deeper version of yourself on a more soulful level. Is there something that like just you knew from that moment? Was there a thing, or was it something gradual that just dissolved these layers?
It was both. I think the aha moment is what Katherine calls self as source. You have to see how you're co-creating it. Even if it's like, oh, it would be so easy. It would have been so easy to just sit in blame, let's say for my parents, for how superficial our relationship was. They never asked me about me and all the things. But as an adult, I released them from that responsibility. And I was like, who do I want to be in this relationship? So that moment of taking full responsibility for my experience of life, saying I'm the source of my life, even if it's just, 3% me and 97% them, I have got a say here. And who do I want to be? And how do I want to show up? So that I would
Mm,
say is like the pivotal moment. And then that next part, I pretty much imagine this as like the work when people are saying like do the work. That's the making a different choice in the moment. That's
mhm,
the my mom said something triggering and I'm making a different choice in the moment instead of what I used to do, which is just shut down and get smaller and let her just talk at me and just kind of disassociate, leave the room. I actually would
mhm,
engage it as an adult in the room and not just be pulled around by her limitations.
mm. So would you say that the relationship with your mother, that whole orientation and stimulus response back and forth exchange that would end up having you feel small and shut down, was that a pattern that was showing up in other relationships in your life that was a difficult pattern in general for you to break through? Or was it singular in just in a relationship with her, or did you see that showing up in other areas of your life as well?
Oh, I mean, we know the answer to this. Of course, it showed up in other areas of my life.
Yeah, yeah,
There was so
yeah.
much of and what I identified earlier that like I'm on my own. Catherine would call it like a source fracture story, but we all have sort of at least one usually story like this. But I had many, and with that conversation specifically with my mother, a lot of it was this I'm not good enough thread, and of course that showed up. everywhere else. Of course, that
Yeah.
showed up in me devaluing my efforts, working twice as hard for half as much, choosing people that really could not meet me, and then thinking I had to try harder to like make that work. This like, oh, of course, then we've just perpetuate this idea of like, of course I'm not good enough. I can't fix this person. I can't change this person, right? So absolutely, it showed up everywhere else. And so again, that work of starting to make actually learning a lot about what does it look like to discern healthy people that can meet me in relationship? Who am I being so that I'm also not making other people feel not good enough,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
So
right.
there absolutely it showed up everywhere.
Yeah, I think there's a little golden sentence right in there that when we don't feel that we're enough in some way, we engage in ways and we attract things, and our lives become a reflection of that reality. And inside of that creation, we generate circumstances where others are not going to look like they're enough because we can't see that on the inside. We can only project it onto the outer world, into the movie that we're walking into every day. And so when we find ourselves surrounded by people who don't seem to be meeting us, it's really because we haven't been meeting us. We haven't been meeting ourselves. We haven't been there and allowed the embrace of all that we are so that we could feel like we were enough, and then therefore project a movie that reflects people that are enough surrounding us all the time. And it's a pinnacle moment that people start to recognize that when they're surrounded by circumstances that aren't fulfilling it, if they trace it back, they're going to find themselves on their own inner architecture, recognizing that that's a feeling they have about themselves, and they have no choice but to project it outwardly so that they can get to know it and understand it and unpack it and transform it. So how beautiful. I love hearing that that's at the core of so much of what is happening with Catherine's work as well. You mentioned also that you coach the strong and capable ones who hold everything together,
Mhm.
um, and reference them somewhat as over functioning. What what is the cost of over functioning? What is the cost of being that strong, individuated, and independent person who's so self-reliant and self-sufficient? What's the biggest thing that you think happens? What's it cost? What's the greatest cost
Mm.
associated with that?
Such a good question. Well, let me first say being strong and independent are not inherently bad things. Like those are actually very useful qualities in many situations. Where we end up
Sure.
crossing the line, right, is when we get into the over functioning or we get into the isolation. And again, this is the distinction Catherine would make. If we're coming from, I'm not safe, and then we're just strong and independent because it's kind of a reaction to this idea that I cannot count on other people. There's like a ceiling to that kind of strong and independent, right? Like because truly, and I think you stand for this as well as in what I've listened to you, like we need each other if we're going to create big meaningful change and things and beautiful things in the world. Like we are much better as a group of humans, not just one human, even though one human is magical in itself. We do more when we have each other. And so if we have these false stories that are actually isolating us, then that strong and independent is costing us. It is costing us love. It is costing us really our full potential. It is costing us being part of a community and like creating something meaningful, showing up for each other. Like it feels good to love another person, right? To love and be loved. Like those are both parts of it. So that costs us all of those things. And oftentimes we end up over functioning again, like you just alluded to, like we perpetuate that. So if we're over functioning, we sometimes are assuming the other person won't show up for us. And then what? You get resentful because you're doing everything in that relationship. And then you either end up cutting that off or you just suffer in silence or whatever it is. But either way, it's not really a relationship. There's kind of one person in the room at that point,
Yeah.
right? Like the cost of it. So you end up exhausted. You end up feeling under recognized, unseen, unmet. I mean, those are all the big costs, right? So it's not inherently, oh, I'm strong and independent and that's who I am. But if I'm coming to those skills because I feel like I cannot be with other people, that's where we get in that slippery slope. But if we're saying, I have healthy ways to engage people when I need to, and I have healthy ways to like stand on my own, sure, why not?
Absolutely. You know, that the universe operates on this, the same principles as interpersonal communication or connection or collaboration. The universe operates this way, as this unified field of energy, and that energy compresses itself into physical form. And so we are a holographic representation of the big, big picture. And so when we are interdependent and collaborative, we're actually mimicking and mirroring the principles of the universe. And so if that requires that we not have all the answers all the time, that we reach out, that we ask, that we receive, that we allow, and at the same time, we also can recognize when we're strong, moving forward, I've got this kind of feeling, but we're open and available. Now we're operating in a way that the entire cosmos is in support of. However, if somebody has been operating in a, hey, it's just me. If I don't do this, nobody's going to. I got to go make this happen, in a more isolated, separate self sort of way. And then we sit here and have this kind of conversation today, Jessica. What happens sometimes is people realize that, okay, I have to be more exposed. I have to be more vulnerable. I have to be more transparent when I don't know what to do. I have to say, I don't know. And maybe they were raised or have gotten far by never saying those words. So what do you suggest to people who are feeling that vulnerability in that moment, to encourage them to allow that to be part of their strength?
Mm. Oh my God. Okay. I just love so much of what you just said. I love this like reflection of the universe, because you're right. The universe really wants us to co-create. It is a co-creative
Yeah.
experience here. So what would I offer to someone who is feeling like because there's that hint of wisdom of like, ooh, I'm going to have to be more vulnerable. Like,
Yeah.
uh-oh. And I think the engagement first is like, can I be curious about that? Can I
Yeah.
see that? Say, huh, okay. And then we start getting curious about what are all the parts of us that are like coming up, up in arms about it, resisting it, afraid of it. Because that's what happens. It's usually all of our survival mechanisms, pseudo safety mechanisms have been there to protect us. So that strength, that independence was to protect us from other people who could not be counted on. And so if we're going to stand in this future of like, okay, well, what if there are some people I can count on? What if there's a way that I can discern who is safe or not? What's the healthy way to do that? And then we would actually have to practice vulnerability like it's a skill, like it's, I don't know, doing a bicep curl at the gym or walking, right? Like we crawled and then we walked, and it was all a skill. And so if our vulnerability and sharing our own experience is a crawling level, then that's where we engage it. We say, okay, I can see that
Yeah.
this feels really new for us. Who's a safe person to start with? Or try it on at the grocery store. Really
Yeah.
just like giving ourselves little moments to practice, and that starts to build the skill. What's shocking is, as adults, we are so powerful. If you get on board 100% and go and practice that skill, you will be astounded at how quickly it grows.
Yes, another thing that I recommend that people do when they're trying to like try on their vulnerable shoes, is if they want to lean into a conversation and they have no idea how this is going to go, and they're pretty sure it's just going to flop or it's just going to get, reactive or even brutal. It's just to say, okay, I've something I need to ask or say, and it's probably going to come out clunky because I don't know, just say it's clunky. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm new at this. I'm just going to try this because I care. Just to really be transparent in the real moment about what's up for you. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden, it allows something more true to be pouring through your system and into the dynamic space in between. And so, I know that you speak into, and Katherine did, about telling the truth and about truly being known requires that level of honesty. What else would you say along those lines of the significance of allowing these transformations to happen as we stop performing and we allow authenticity to just, just allow it to reveal?
Yeah, I think I don't want to skip over the reality that the first time you go to tell the truth, if you spend an entire life shielding it, hiding it in some way, like protecting it in some way, it might feel like you're dying. Like, I think
Oh, there's that. Yeah.
dramatic reality of like, hold on, we have protected ourselves for X amount of years by not saying the whole thing, and now we're gonna say the whole thing. Like, your body's gonna be like, "Are you effing kidding me?" I remember the first time two first times, both were me like ugly crying because I was so terrified of speaking the truth, one to my mother and one to this guy I was dating. But I really had to presence that something wasn't sitting well with me. And I couldn't believe that I was like, whatever, 30, doing that for the first time, truly. And it felt like death. But I was more committed to the future of healthy relationship than I was to that past. And I knew I would just have to hold myself through it. So I don't want to skip that
Mm.
because I think people are like, okay, well, you just start telling the truth and start practicing. I was like, there will be a visceral somatic experience to you doing something differently in that
Yeah,
moment. And it doesn't
definitely.
mean you're doing it wrong.
And there is a part of you that is dying. It is a real death.
Yeah.
The part of you that feels like it's dying is the false self. It's the ego. It's the protective personality. It's the performer in you. It is a version of you that you've been identified with, and now you're no longer giving it your life force because something deeper and more meaningful has become evident to you, and it's become important. And so we're trying to figure out how to get those legs underneath us. But the part that feels like it's dying, I suggest that people wish it well and thank it for the service that it provided and is no longer needed. That we are constantly guarding and protecting and hiding so that we can create some false reality that on the surface of life looks and walks and talks like everything's fine and we're dying. It's the soulful self is dying on the inside all the while. So thank you for dropping in and pulling that little highlight out, because it is a very real thing that will happen as someone's evolution is surfacing. It's just time, and all of a sudden you can't do this things the way you used to do them. They don't feel the same. It's not enough. It's that's the part that's unfulfilling about life. It's not the outcomes. It's the process in which we're operating that is unfulfilling moment by moment by moment. So we just want to honor it and allow ourselves to go into that knowingly, right?
Yeah. That's beautiful. I
So
love what you were capturing about that it is a dying. It is. It
yeah.
is a dying. Yeah, and I think I think becoming a mature adult is learning to let go well, and I think that's part of it.
Yes, with grace. And if people have a context for what they're letting go of and what they're getting in return, it makes it a
Exactly.
little bit easier, even though the experience of it is a new vibration. So it feels very foreign, and we move into fight or flight pretty easily. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's allowing love to have a greater presence in your life. And as you talk about it, that no longer is it a mystery, that love doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be a fantasy that's out there somewhere, that it actually is a very safe energy to live in, to dwell in, and to honor. So what can you share about the safety of love that makes it worth people going through this dying of this part of themselves into a better world?
Yeah. I think that is maybe why so many people fell in love with Catherine's work is because she knew that it was about love and love in like that really big sense beyond romantic love, and that all of the skills it takes to keep love safe can be learned. Catherine really came from this like developmental perspective. Like there's nothing broken about you. All these things can be learned. And um what is I mean, what a gorgeous question. What is worth fighting for? Maybe is really the question. Like why would we go through this? Why would we go through the grief and the triumph of doing this?
Mm.
I think really for the full human experience, to really be connected and bonded to people that see you. We have gifts to give to the world. I know you believe this too, and Catherine really stood for that. Like, we have something to contribute to the world. The world needs you. I mean, really looking at our world and what's emerging, like the world needs us to show up from our best selves and be blissfully creative together. And
Mm.
and the sooner we can get people like through to understanding their full brilliance and capacity, like that's worth it. The idea that you will leave this earth feeling like you did it. You expressed yourself fully. You lived fully and joyfully, with what you had and with what you could create. I think that, I mean, that to me feels worth it. Like full creative expression, and not creative just like painting or drawing, but like truly creative, like we're creative beings at heart. Um, so I mean, if you're really asking, yeah, why is it worth it? Why would we go through this?
Yeah.
I would say that. And truly, for those people who are listening who feel that dying of like life, it's not working anymore, the old things that made me happy, don't cut it. You kind of already know, because that question is, can I keep living like this? Like, is this it? And the answer is no, like there is more. And that's when that the soul is calling, right? Like that's um what's emerging. And again, it is like you said, the death of the ego, or the death of like the identity we created to protect ourselves, or maybe in compensation for something that we had gone through. And we let go of that and start to say, what is the soul asking of us? Like James Hollis said. So that's what I
Yes,
think.
it's so fascinating because the more you do what we're talking about doing, the more you realize there's nothing to do but this. There's nothing that is worthwhile. There's no amount of protection or creating something that isn't authentic that will ever actually feel the way it feels when we reveal, when we just pierce the veil, we drop the cloak, and we stand just open and pure and free, and recognizing that, you know what, I'm enough. This is my precious life. I'm living it fully. I'm going to do this my way, and I'm not going to do it alone. I have to do the work, but I don't have to do it alone. And when we just allow those simple little statements to be true on the periphery, the universe couples up with that intention, because that's how the universe operates. So we're dialing in to a bigger radio station that is offering more and more support for us having a life that we truly authentically love living, and one that we feel as good on the inside as it can look on the outside. And as I've spent decades truly in the celebration of that great release, that letting go of all of the parameters. I was an overgiver and trying to, perform and do the right thing and be a good daughter and be a good doctor and be a good sister and be a good partner and all of the all. And, it's exhausting. You can't live that way. You just can't. And we're not intended to be living that way. So I arrive at this place of, there is nothing to do other than what's true. There's nothing to say other than what's true. There's nothing to respond with other than a true and authentic response. There's no way of being that is better than allowing the truth to just reveal with love and grace, and compassion. And as we do, we end up rewriting, the story of our lives without even trying to. It just happens moment by moment. Now, I know that you have rewriting your love story in your work, and I'd love for you to speak a little bit about that. To what does it mean to also do that consciously and intentionally, to rewrite your love story? What are we rewriting? What's happening there?
Yeah, well, usually we have a pattern. Most people coming to Calling in the One have a pattern. This is what happens when I try to get in a relationship, or I've been in a 35-year marriage and we're just kind of in this cycle and it's dying, right? There's usually a pattern. And when I think about rewriting your love story, I mean, one, you're definitely graduating out of the pattern, right? All the stuff that we've been talking about, how you perpetuate that, graduating out of that pattern, but really staking a claim. And Catherine is calls this like really setting your intention for a positive possible future. You're staking a claim on like the miracle, the thing you have no real evidence for. I had no evidence in my life that I would be in a happy, healthy relationship. It was not anything you would have predicted for me based on how my history was going. So when we stand for that and we're saying, okay, how do I rewrite the story so I actually end up there? We're rewriting beliefs. We're actually being a different person with others. It does feel weird. It feels like, oh, I'm not being myself. But if your personality was just formed in response to wounds, then maybe it's a good thing that we no longer resemble that person. I absolutely see it as, like the hero's journey, or like the death, rebirth, death, rebirth cycle, right?
Hmm.
Like there is 100% this unbecoming, like a breaking down of who we were and really peeling apart, like you said, like what is true? What am I holding on to just because it was habit? What is no longer aligned? It's like updating your software. You're like, well, if I'm trying to create that, but I'm still doing this, those pieces don't work. So when we're rewriting our love story, or really any story in your life, we are having to let go of ways of being that are just not congruent with that. I could
Hmm.
not keep, okay, so one of my passions in life is really writing, and there's a book in me. I'm just sort of living the life I need to create it. But my first step, I had to start writing and sharing it with people. And that would rewrite my story with my own creativity, because the old story was nobody sees this. Nobody gets me. It's not valuable in the world. So, like you said, I had to do that for myself. I had to say, this is valuable enough just because I want to share it and I want to write it. So then I basically email spammed everyone in my list a newsletter, because I was like, well, here we go. And that was rewriting my story. And from then on, that identity, I was like trying on the identity of like, can I be a writer? Like, is that a thing? And now it feels part of me. I've really embodied it. So that's what I think about when we're rewriting our love stories. We are becoming, and it's kind of dramatic when you really look at it in hindsight, but it comes in all those subtle steps.
Yeah, definitely. What's the role of not try, when we say about not trying to do it alone or collaboration or, interpersonal interactions, etc. What about that interpersonal interaction on the largest scale? Like, what's the role of source and universal intelligence or God?
Mm.
For some people, they might use the term God, or for others, it might be the quantum possibility, quantum field. Um, what's the role in that? For instance, in, calling in the one, where are we calling it from? This one, whether the one is a person or the one is the oneness of my own true self, what's the role of the infinite in this whole interaction and dynamic that you're speaking about?
Mm. I mean, I would describe the role as essential. So whatever we name it, or whatever it maybe looks like for people, this work is a different orientation to life. I mean, especially if we've come from, a wounded place of feeling very alone or isolated, and we step into, oh, like there's a whole world out here that I can engage with that includes this, like metaphysical, energetic plane, in whatever way people want to experience it, whether it's God or the universe. And we are building a relationship with it. I think that's really what it is. We build a relationship with it, and it can be a supportive, magical relationship of surrender. That's how I see it, because I don't know everything in the world. And I think there's a bit of release in that once we trust that, like, oh, something else is here. I'm actually truly never alone, and that there is something that connects us all, that is filled with wisdom that is beyond anything that maybe humans can even quantify. And when we're, let's say, calling in the one, there's this deep trust, and maybe we just call it faith, that things are working out in support of your intention. So even when we date someone and it doesn't work out, we're really holding the space for like, well, what did I learn? What patterns did I break here? How do I show up differently? And trusting that the right thing is on its way, and this was not it. Now, of course,
Hmm.
that's terrifying in the middle when you're like, oh my God, I don't know
Sure.
what's out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, but isn't that faith, right? That we trust that something else is holding it with us, that we are not the only ones who need to go make it happen. Our participation is required, but we don't control it all.
Yeah. And so, what does it feel like for you when that surrender has happened and that reconnection is occurring and a collaboration for transformation is able to unfold? Now your life's going to change because of this. What does it feel like for you when you've done some of those essential steps, and that source or that template or that process that is allowing something to move now into your life in a more, as you're saying, magical manner, because you're building this relationship with the invisible, and it's now able to become visible because you're connecting to it. What does it feel like for you when that connection is happening?
I'm like, there's several ways I could answer this. I think the experience in my body is it's like as if I was like the shape of the Eiffel Tower. I feel like there's like a clarity that runs through like my whole spine, like up to the sky and through the earth. So physically, that's kind of how it feels. Um, and I think in day-to-day life, there is this quality. I mean, you caught my one of my like favorite words is magical. There's a quality that it makes life magical. I'm like, oh, the train is delayed. I'm just gonna trust that this is just how it's supposed to go, you know? Or I'm trusting that this delay is working in my favor. I'm relating to everything generatively. I'm not taking this rude person's comment over there and making it mean something about my life. I'm not taking this mistake that I made over here and dooming myself with it. There is a quality of grace. There's a quality of like it can hold everything that's happening, and that there is something beautiful to make out of it. Because I don't know, not all things in the world that are happening are beautiful. There's some actually pretty terrible, like great suffering. There's some great suffering in the world. So I'm not here to say that like that is meaningful for the people going through it, but there is a trust in my own life that what I experience in it serves a purpose. Like when I look back at my brother's death, that was that's so much of why I feel like I can be a healing presence for others. Like the depth that that dropped me into and what I had to come out of and what it equipped me with. Like I feel very capable of sitting with people in some of those really deep, dark moments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel actually very much so that death is a friend of mine in a way, having come out of that arc, so to speak. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, but I really feel the magic of it in my life.
Mm. So when you say magic, it's kind of mysterious, like miraculous, like it's kind of it's beyond logic. It makes no sense. Um, can you say more about how you set up the perfect circumstances for the magic to happen, or the miracle to happen, or the uncanny, or the beyond logic life? Are there things that you do on a daily basis that allow you to be the conduit between beyond logic and this logical, tangible, organized, structured world that we're living in?
Oh, I'm like, is our world organized and structured? But I get what you mean.
Well,
um,
it's more organized than the chaos of the unified field of consciousness that's out
yeah,
there, the infinite possibility. So,
yeah. Are there things that I do? Um, I mean, on like a very practical level, I feel I'm very physically oriented. Like being in my body is a big part of my experience of the world. So being active, being in nature, active in nature, yoga, like being connected with my breath, like all of that makes me feel like I am listening with my thousand eyes and thousand ears. Like my full body has attention. Our bodies have so much more intelligence than our brains up here. And so I feel like any practice that helps me turn that on lets me sense beyond what I can think. And that I really trust. And I have consciously paid attention to that, and anything we pay attention to grows, right? So it feels like I've like honed my little inner listening abilities. Even creative ideas, I used to just kind of ignore them. They would like come like a download and I would just skip them. But when I said, oh, you know what, Jess, we're going to start taking our creativity seriously, I started at least making notes of them because I was like, oh, download's coming, and I would grab it. Right. So all of these little practices where I was, in essence, really honoring myself and my full capacity for listening, I think that has made a tremendous difference in my ability to believe in the magic, to listen for it. Um, there are also moments. I'll give one example. My partner said, "Oh, he had a work trip, and he invited me to go," and I was like, "I just don't. I'm not clear. I'm not clear if I should come." And then by the time it came to the moment I had to decide if I thought about going, it was like dark cloud through me. And if I
Hmm.
thought about staying, it felt clearer. And I was like, I am sorry. Is it okay if I don't go? I just don't feel the alignment. And he was like, sure. So lo and behold, he goes on that trip, and RIP Paul, but his brother passed away like the day before he was supposed to fly. And so he didn't end up going on that trip either. Now, it was like a terrible thing to be like quote unquote right about, but I could hear for myself that that was not the right decision. And I didn't know why at the time, but I was willing to just trust it. And I think that's the game I even invite clients to play. I was like, play with your intuition a little bit. Just like go on a walk and have no agenda and just see what happens if you just like turn because you want to, and look at a store because it seemed fun. Like, what if you followed impulses and got to know where it led you? There's a self-trust quality of it that I've really actively cultivated. So hopefully they answer your question.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Uh, I'd also like to just, quickly visit. Um, Catherine also, had the book Conscious Uncoupling, and it was about how to really understand the completion of relationship, and so therefore kind of letting go and stepping into another another version of ourselves. Is there anything that you can share about the relationships ending and people feeling, or just changing? They might not be ending, but they're changing in their definition. How people can hold that space and feel that they're not abandoning love or abandoning the agreements or even vows that were taken, and to move forward with grace. Is there anything you can drop into the
Hmm.
conversation along those lines?
Sure. I think it's such a sacred space. I'm facilitating a conscious uncoupling coach training right now, so this feels like very, very close to my heart in this moment. So when we're going through that, significant evolution of relationship, whether that is ending it or, becoming co-parents and no longer living in the same home or whatever it is, I think the first thing to acknowledge is that it is essentially a relational trauma. Like, it's a big change. And to even acknowledge the bigness of it gives us some containment for it, some validation of like, oh, no wonder it feels like my whole world is. I mean, it is. Your whole world is going to change in this moment. And relationships are really a series of agreements. So, the like emotional labor of having to remake all of these emotional agreements, whether it is, renegotiating on those vows, whether it is creating, custody arrangements or whatever it is, there's such a true stress to it. You're having to recreate so much that's new. Um, I think from the internal perspective, this is a beautiful tool that Catherine always teaches, and it seems very simple, but I promise you, it's at the heart of everything. Catherine just takes a moment, and we sit back and we ground into like our wisest self, and we just ask, sweetheart, what are you feeling? And to be able to witness ourselves in that experience and hold space for the validity of all of the big feelings that comes with it, and then asking, what do you need? And keeping it, I mean, it sounds like it's keeping it very simple, but if we can respond to ourselves in that way, we usually have enough space to access wisdom and not just react from the hurt or the pain or the confusion. We just have enough spaciousness to witness ourselves. Even if the other person doesn't want to witness us, we can at least do it and then make a conscious choice about it. I mean, that's what's conscious uncoupling. We didn't say it was going to be like perfect or beautiful or without its own complications, but it's
Yeah.
conscious. Who am I being in this? How do I want to show up? Who do I want to be for my family? And what do I want to create on the other side? Right? Like, what's the intention? If the intention is that people both come out feeling whole and still open to love, I mean, that's a really beautiful intention. So
Mhm.
who do I need to be today for that to happen?
Yes, and to be able to do that for another means, it comes more easily if we do that for ourselves. If we're constantly aware of what we're feeling and what we need, and we're delivering that for ourselves, we're opening and allowing it to be delivered for us in all the ways that embodiment brings. It's much more easily accessed in a moment where things are not, or rather tumultuous in the outer world, or could go any direction because we're into a hot topic or something that is potentially, explosive or button pushing, if you will. So it's always important for everyone to remember that, it's always easier. Interacting in the outer world is always easier when our inner world is being met and integrated and loved into. Oh, so beautiful. So as Catherine's work enters its next chapter, which is, in the ethers and not in physical form in her body, but she's definitely left a legacy by all the teachings and the trainings that she was doing with so many. What does carrying it forward mean to you?
So Catherine, as we know, was such a force of nature, and that really was the experience in the community. And I know, we've experienced so much love in the last few months since her passing. So we know like when I talk about that, like, clarity through my spine, it was like this work has to continue. Period. I don't really know how that's going to happen yet, but the positive possible future is that this work continues. It continues to change lives for people we don't even know yet. And it kind of expands beyond what Catherine herself could have even imagined. Like, that's the dream, really, right? Like, when you have a legacy and someone can really carry it forward and expand it in a way that you couldn't even imagine. So that's the future we're living into. And within that, we're really in the logistics of, we're going from founder led to community led. And what does it look like now that the founder and creator of this work is no longer there? We have membership, so people are continuing to learn and practice live with people how to live in this work. Like we've been talking about, you can have an awakening in a moment, but all those little choices along the way that really change turn the river of your life, that requires support and connection and people who speak the same language and people who want to cheer you on. So we have a membership community going that's beautiful. We are hosting a True You coach training this October. Applications are open, so we're thrilled to be able to bring Catherine's latest work, the What's True About You conversation, to professionals and people who are looking to maybe add to their professional credentials or just explore coaching for the very first time. Like, it's
Mm.
really an honor to bring this work forward. Mostly because I know it's changed my life, but in our community of coaches and all the students, they're feeling that transformation, and it gives them tools really for a lifetime. You can just keep applying it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yes, it's definitely perfect timing for more and more of us to be in the role of really learning how to integrate ourselves and then offer such support to others. And these kinds of trainings are exactly how that's done. And so we'll make sure that the information for all of that and the links are in the show notes here, so that everyone can find you. I want to thank you, Jessica, for coming forward today. It's not an easy thing to be grieving the loss of a mentor and a friend and a teacher, and it's not an easy thing to come and talk about their work as if we would know how to represent everything they would want to have be said, and also to weave that together with your own visions and aspirations and your own vulnerabilities of stumbling into how to become really an expert in this work. And you've just done a beautiful job, and as a testament to Catherine and all that you've done all that she's done for you, you certainly are walking that message into the world. And I thank you for sharing you through those teachings here today. It's been wonderful to spend this time with you. So thank you for being here. Is there any last word you'd like to say to our community?
Well, I want to say thank you. I really received that. I think we did Katherine proud. What I would love to say to the community is, if you are feeling that inkling, let it be an invitation to go deeper, because your soul is calling you. And I think it's worth listening to. That's what I would say.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you all for being here with us today. And thank you for spending this time with the Art of Awakening podcast and the varied conversations that we have, all blending science and spirituality for the ultimate embodiment of the true soulful self. And we're here to create a life that we truly love living. So thank you for being a part of that. Until next time, I'm Dr. Sue Morter. Blessings, blessings to you all. Much love. Bye-bye for now.